The Mountaineer defense was a real headache for the Baylor Bears, but unfortunately, Taz Sherman left the game with a headache of his own. Let's talk about it. What is up, college sports fans, fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? This is Coos. Welcome to another edition of Coos' Corner. I'm serving up college football and college basketball content just about every day. If you like that and haven't yet, hit that red subscribe button for me, please. It really helps me out. Also, give me the thumbs up if you like this video. Leave a comment in the comment section what you think about the West Virginia Baylor game. And how do you think this Mountaineer team is going to do the rest of the year? 81-77, the final score of the Baylor-West Virginia game on Monday night, January 31st. West Virginia was on a 5-game losing streak going into the game. Needed to really get a win on the road against the Bears, who were ranked in the top 10. And they come out and honestly played pretty good. Played better than I thought they would. They played much better than they had the previous games. Looks like they're starting to turn the corner, but unfortunately just wasn't enough to get it done, and I'll give you my thoughts on it later. But first, let's go over some stats. Let's look at the team stats real quick. Field goals, West Virginia was 26 out of 48 for 54.2% shooting. Baylor 30 out of 62 for 48.4%. So West Virginia actually had a really good night from the floor. Three-pointers, West Virginia was 11 out of 27, good for 40.7%, really good shooting from three. Baylor was 8 out of 22, 36.4%. Free throws, West Virginia was 14 out of 23, not so good, 60.9%. Baylor 13 out of 25 for 52%. It's even worse. Wow, that's terrible, Baylor. Rebounds, West Virginia 26, Baylor 36. Assists, West Virginia 16, Baylor 17. Steals, West Virginia 5, Baylor 8. Blocks, West Virginia 4, Baylor 2. Total turnovers, West Virginia 15, Baylor 11. Fouls, West Virginia 21, Baylor 21. And in largest lead, each team had 10-point leads in the game. When you look at the rebounding margin, that's really, in my opinion, the biggest difference in this game. West Virginia got out-rebounded by 10. 12 of those were on the offensive glass. They gave up 17 offensive rebounds to Baylor, and they only had 5. The Mountaineers did. So that really was the difference in the game. Baylor kept getting multiple opportunities to score basket. Now, in my opinion, there are more than one reason for that, and I'm going to explain that later. But now let's go over some key player stats for the game. Taz Sherman was back to his old self. Put in a career high and season high 29 points on 10 of 15 shooting, 6 of 11 from three-point range. Also had 2 rebounds and 3 assists. Sean McNeil, 16 points. 6 of 9 from the floor, 2 out of 4 from three-point range. Also 5 rebounds for McNeil. He was tied for the lead for team rebounding. They were the only 2 players in double figures. Gabe Boylan also chipped in 5 rebounds and, of course, did what he normally did and played really good defense. Jalen Bridges had 8 points. Isaiah Cottrell had 6. When you look at the player stats for Baylor, Akinjo had 25 points. If you remember, he did not play in the first meeting between these two teams, but he was back from his injury. He dropped 25 points. Jeremy Sohan had 13. Jonathan Chachua had 14. I think I got that name right, believe it or not. So all those guys hurt us. Meyer didn't hurt us like he normally does. He only had 9, but he did hit a big 3 at one point in the game. But Baylor, once again, even though Akinjo and Sohan were back, they were down a couple other guys. Jonathan Cryer, who hurt West Virginia the first time these two teams met, was out in this game, along with one of their other key contributors. So this was a great opportunity for West Virginia to come in and get a win on the road against a shorthanded Baylor team. And it was a night when West Virginia played well. They just came up short. I'll tell you, even though the foul numbers were even in this game, I thought the officiating was absolutely horrendous. And when asked about it after the game, Hugs asked about the rebounding margin. Hugs basically, in a nutshell, this is paraphrasing, said, I can go in there right now and show you some clips as to why we got out-rebounded. And that's all he would say. He wasn't allowed to say anything else because obviously criticizing the officials gets you a big fine, which to me is absolutely ludicrous because the officials are not held accountable by anyone, at least not in the public forum. I think officials need to have their own press conferences after games and answer a lot of questions. There was one clip that's on the internet right now that shows Sean McNeil boxing out, or attempting to box out a Baylor player. It was Meyer, actually. Meyer literally shoves him in the back, extends his arm clean out, shoves McNeil in the back, pushes him away from the basket, gets the offensive rebound. Now that happened on more than one occasion last night. I saw it myself as I was watching the game. Also, Taz Sherman, I mentioned in the beginning of my video that Taz Sherman left with a headache of his own. Taz Sherman, it was a tie ball game late in the second half. Taz Sherman took an inadvertent hit to the face. Okay? He ends up having to leave the game with a concussion and couldn't come back, and West Virginia ended up going on to lose the game on what was Taz Sherman's best night, arguably, of his career. So we definitely needed him down the stretch. It could have been a different outcome. Not only did they not call a foul on the play, they didn't even stop the game. Taz Sherman is laying on the floor, holding his head, while the players go off down the floor to the other end and play 5-on-4. The official should have stopped the game right there. When you see a player land on the floor hurt with a head injury and you let the game go on, that is absolutely carelessness, and it's downright wrong in my opinion. What is first, the health and safety of the players or the game? You tell me, referees. You tell me, John Higgins and the rest of these referees out here that are calling these games. Do you not give a crap about the health and safety of our players out here? Because if you do, you would have blew the whistle right there and checked on this guy. The team doctor had to come out on the floor and help him off. But yet you wouldn't even stop the game. I'm angry talking about it right now. It's ridiculous. The officiating has to be better. They have to do better. Now, I'm not saying West Virginia lost the game because of the officiating, but it did play a role. But at least they could have checked on the health and safety of an athlete. And could you have at least went to the monitor? You see a guy holding his head and he leaves the game with a concussion, but you won't go check the monitor to see if he took a blow to the head, which, by the way, is a flagrant foul. Now, I don't think that would have been a flagrant because it was inadvertent, but you at least could have checked the monitor to see if it was or not. I mean, it's like you didn't even give a crap about this West Virginia guy. If that had been a Baylor player or a Kansas player, would you have checked the monitor then? Would you have, John Higgins? I bet you would have. I'm sick and tired of West Virginia having these terrible situations brought on them by officiating. I'm sick and tired of some of the crap that happens to West Virginia, just downright bad luck, to be honest. But it gets really frustrating as a fan to watch officials dictate games so often. And I'm not saying it was the reason, but it definitely played a role in it. The officials need to do better, and they need to be held accountable by the Big 12 and by the NCAA because it was downright wrong what they did last night in that game. And somebody at least needs to be reprimanded for it. I'm not saying that anybody needs to be fired, but they need to be reprimanded. Now, something else Hug said after the game, he said he was proud of his guys, the way they played. This team hustled their butts off. They played hard. They were running offense this game like they hadn't been in previous games. They hustled, man. The effort was there. They were executing better than they had been. They still got a lot of work to do, especially on the rebounding. But like I said, I mean, when you get shoved clean in the back, it's hard to rebound, especially when a guy's already got 3 or 4 inches on you. I mean, West Virginia played small ball last night for the most part in this game, and it was working other than the rebounding. But so my thoughts on the game are West Virginia came up short. They played hard, just came up short to a good team on the road. Had some bad luck with their best player getting injured. Had some tough breaks with the officiating and with the some rebounds that just didn't go their way. But I think if this team will continue to play with this kind of effort and heart, I think they're going to steal some games away from some of these teams they shouldn't beat. Can they get a win against Texas Tech at home? We will see. That'll be their next opponent coming up on Saturday. Hopefully the Mountaineers can turn it around. Hopefully Taz Sherman will be okay. He did tweet out a thumbs up after the game on his Twitter account, so hopefully that's a good sign. But we'll see. Sometimes concussions take a while to recover from. But hopefully he'll be back, because if he's not, it's probably going to be a long season. Hugs pretty much said that himself at the end of the game. When they asked him about the rest of the season, he said a lot of it's going to hinge on how Taz is doing. So we'll see. Hoping and praying for Taz to have a speedy recovery. Congrats to Baylor. You did win the game. Officials did not win that game for Baylor. They played a role in it, but they didn't win it for Baylor. Baylor won the game, made shots down the stretch when they needed to, got some key rebounds. So congrats, Baylor. With that being said, I'm still proud of my guys. Still proud of the Mountaineers and how hard they played and the effort they put in. They're wearing the Flying WV with pride. As fans, that's all we should ask. I know we get frustrated at times, especially when they're in the middle of a 6-game losing streak, but let's hang in there, guys. Let's hang with this team. Keep cheering them on. Keep supporting them. Q Country Roads.